Yeah, I found those 7 pages. Boy, yeah, I'm used to that.
We'll see.
Well, thank you, appreciate it.
Gone, maybe, right, sir? How are you?
Good.
Good. I hadn't even money to do yet. I've been trying to get to beat that 30th death.
I heard.
Yes.
I'm sure you can, but I'll try to. I had some of that struggle myself, so
Yeah, we count
I
down.
can relate. But I mean, I got, I moved to breathe.
How are we gonna handle that?
Can we count down?
Are you counting down?
No, are you counting
I
down?
asked for you.
On the run,
You go somewhere?
try to make that pass.
Sure.
9, listen, not everybody voted.
Started off, they were gonna do 3 sets.
Yeah, right.
They have a right to be wrong.
Was it mine? I do remember that, yes, sir.
You told them, I'm taking
That baby on there.
Oh.
Not believing that.
Horses in the middle.
Not believing that help. She said.
Started shouting.
And he told me.
Usually we call.
She said, I'm home.
Smart.
That helped her.
And
Stop believing.
I tried to make them,
No, the elf.
about 30.
Cleanup, last day of cleanup.
We almost had her believing.
Stuff I had rode it around, I was out there, took the trail. But she wasn't moving big.
After that.
So then I believed it.
And that's what I tried to do myself.
Unless the commission
Yes.
votes to charge them. So if I have stuff on the right away, folks that ask you to bring it off. Yeah, that room goes down there.
Lynette Williams, is that her name?
I'm not sure.
That's the attorney.
And enjoy it.
I only had like one conversation with her.
I don't think it's.
To the work. After about 15 minutes.
Do the infraction. To make somebody take a fence off, say 30 feet on the right away.
Which way you go?
They don't have to take that fence down, she can send them a letter. Those work, I got it earlier.
She put a decision out that said that a fence on a right of way she perceived as a civil issue. I told her she was wrong. Yes, that is a public
I
encroachment.
hadn't done a whole lot.
They have no legal right to encroach.
Look here and there.
It has nothing to do with
Find out how rusty you are.
We were supposed to told them you will move in.
I'll take it for just a second, and I got you.
I got one, somebody put 25 feet out.
I've done it. We're ready to get started. You understand? Yep, so lead us.
Everybody else?
Father in heaven, we thank you right now for your goodness and mercy. We bless your name because your name worthy to be blessed. Father, we thank you for how you have taken care of us, how you get us through the holidays. Father, we do come praying right now for this county. We come praying for the people that's unemployed or that was affected by the closing of the mill and all other activities that might have had some effect on them. Lord, now we pray for this country. Pray for the people in Ukraine. We pray for the other folks in the southeast and all those right now in the Bible Belt and Jerusalem and all those countries right now. We pray for peace. Father, when we look at the television and we see the devastation, we know we do not need a war in this country. And we do pray for your keeping us right now. We bless your holy name now. And we know it's not our goodness that we are yet alive, but it's your grace and your mercy. And we thank you now. Then help us, Father, as only you can do and you will do it. We thank you now. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting this Tuesday, November 28, 2023, 6 p.m. We have a conference line set up. Number there is 1917-900-1022. Access code 32347#. This is not a toll-free number, and you may be subject to long-distance charges according to your long-distance plan. When the chairperson opens the meeting for public comment, please follow the below instructions. If you wish to speak, please dial *5. The moderator will unmute your line when it's your turn to speak and notify you by announcing the last four digits of your telephone number. Please announce your name and address, and you'll be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Any person wishing to address the board regarding an agenda item will be given 3 minutes for comment. A commenter may only speak one time for each agenda item. With that said, we'll move to number 3. This is our reorganization of the board for fiscal year 2023-2024. We go to item A, election of a chairperson for the 2023-2024 year.
All right, so just a reminder, I'm just gonna remind you our process for doing that is that I will open, in just a minute, I'll open up the floor for nominations. You don't have to second or anybody can nominate someone, there doesn't have to be a second. If there's more than one nominated person, then we'll do a roll call vote. And if there's only one person, then we'll just do a regular vote. And then I'll turn it back over to the newly elected chair, and then we'll elect the vice chair the same way. So that being said, the floor is now open for nominations for chair. Do I hear nominations for chair?
Yes, I would like to nominate Commissioner English to continue for another year as our chair.
All right, we have a nomination for Commissioner English from Commissioner Fegel. Do I hear any other nominations for chair? All right, hearing no other nominations for chairman, then we need a motion and a second to close the nominations.
I move.
Second.
All right, we got a motion from Commissioner Dents and a second by Commissioner Fegel to close the nominations for chairman. So, everyone in favor of Commissioner English to be the chairman, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries 5-0 for Commissioner English to continue as the chairman of the board. So congratulations to Commissioner English. All right, and then you can just open up the nominations for vice chair, and we do the same.
Move to item B, election of a vice chair. At this time, I'll open up for the election of a vice chair. Does anyone have a nomination?
I'll nominate Mr. Newman.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Moody.
Okay. We have a nomination for Commissioner Newman and a nomination for Commissioner Moody. Do we need to do a roll call here?
So, if there's are there any more nominations? We need a motion and a second to close the nominations if there are no more.
Is there any more nominations? We got Commissioner Moody nominated Commissioner Newman. We had Commissioner Fegel nominated Commissioner Moody. There's no more nominations. Ask for a motion to close the nomination.
I move.
Second.
A motion and a second to close our nominations. All in favor?
Aye.
And then we'll just need a roll call vote for
Mr.
Mr.
Newman was nominated first. So we want to do Newman first.
Yes.
So we have a roll call for, do you want to do that or?
I can do that. Okay. Any of those, if you're in favor of Commissioner Newman as the vice chair, just say yay, and if you're not in favor, say nay. So, Commissioner Fiegel,
No.
Commissioner Dents,
Yay.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner English.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll do the same thing for Commissioner Moody, Commissioner Fiegel,
Yes.
Commissioner Dents, Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
nay, and then Commissioner Newman.
Nay.
And Commissioner English.
Nay.
All right, so, the newly elected, vice chair is, Commissioner Newman.
All right. Item C, discussion of board personnel.
I think this has to do with our attorney, right?
It's all personnel, including the attorney and the, auditors, and all other personnel. I think we included them all together last year, so we can do them separately.
I make a motion to retain them all.
We have a motion to retain them all. Have a second? Second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Item D, discussion regarding board meeting dates, times, and approved board calendars. Everyone have a chance to look over this calendar? I know we had, of course, we had the July and, 8th, and, 23rd, 4th of July week through there. June 25th, we've got, the FAC conference. And of course, we're always doing Thanksgiving week, so.
I would like to suggest that in June, and also in November, that we not have a workshop those months.
Okay.
Due to the fact that in June, that last week is the FAC annual conference. And then, of course, in November, we're right on Thanksgiving, just, so I would like to see us forego those two workshops.
I agree.
That's my motion.
So,
Yeah, we're gonna have, are there any other changes that we wanna make here? I mean, we do, everyone see the, I guess, our tentative budget workshop dates for, July the 15th, 18th, 22nd, and 25th. And those could change. I mean, I think those are tentative now. We could always change that.
Right, we just wanted to make sure we put it on the calendar this year so folks can plan ahead.
All right, so any other discussion around our calendar? We have a motion to remove the workshops for June 25th and November 26th. Do we have a second?
second.
A second, all in favor? Aye. All right. We'll move to item E, miscellaneous discussion, committee appointments, et cetera. All have your, committee list. Everyone's got their appointments that are on. Is there any one want to?
I had a suggestion or a question on the North Florida Economic Development Partnership. I know in the past that, that we have, the board has had one member appointed and then TCDA had a member appointed. Do you wish to return to that or just take that under consideration if the TCDA wishes to appoint their new economic development director? And that's completely at the board's discretion. But last year, I think we had two members on the NFEDP. so that we made sure that we had 2 votes and representation from Taylor County, really in general.
I'll serve on that board. And I think Moody was the alternate, wasn't he?
Right.
Well, we actually can have 2 members, so you could still have, Commissioner Dents, you could serve, and Commissioner Moody could be the alternate if you wish for the TCDA to have representation on the board, and that's completely up to you.
I personally would like to see TCDA have representation on that board, that, you know, they would have an opportunity to work closer and share what's going on and work together.
I would agree.
No problem with that.
So I can take this to the TCDA board at the next meeting and ask if they would like to appoint someone, and we would still have a member and an alternate. It's just that they, you know, if they do not wish to appoint a member, then it would obviously be Commissioner Dents, Commissioner Moody.
That's a monthly meeting, right?
No, it's quarterly, I think.
Okay. Yes, I see, I got that, I'm looking at it.
I think it says varies on this, but generally it's quarterly.
Yeah, I see it, I was looking at it different from this, so, do we need a motion to approve anything here?
Do you want to make any other changes? Or do you want to study it and come back to the next meeting?
I mean, with both the other committees that I'm on, I don't have a problem, and if any other commissioner
Yeah, I make a motion that we keep it, the same.
and contingent on TCDA.
Right,
Is that what your motion is?
yes.
We have a motion to approve the committee assignments contingent on, TCDA joining the North Florida Economic Development Partnership. So, we have a second. Second, all in favor? Item F, board to approve its rules and procedures. So, as I told you, have you had a chance to read through, any changes, anyone wants to propose, everyone okay, we want to approve?
Mr. Chair, I looked through it, and I can't see anything that, needs to be changed. However, in our rules of procedure, it does say that we, ask local clergy to lead us in prayer, and we attempted this before, and we have a few that came, and I would like to see us resume that. Now, they're not gonna be here every time, and Commissioner Dents could, you know, if you so choose to ask him, that's just perfect with me. But, I just think it would be good to involve our clergy in our community.
And we sent out letters maybe last year about this time and didn't have a lot of responses. So maybe what we need to do is wait until after the holidays and we can send out a letter.
I'm sure sending out a letter that probably is fine, just letting them know that we are asking them, but if we're, you know, looking for some of the clergy to come, maybe we need to have a notification before the meeting and before each meeting, you know, to see if we can nail someone down to be here.
Yeah, we can create an email list and we can send out reminders.
Yeah, because I wonder, you know, as many clergy as we have in Taylor County, and the response was not, you know, the way we would like it. I just wonder if they did not get the letters.
You know, it's been timing with the holidays, or I can't recall when we sent them out, but we can try
Yeah,
again.
because I've talked to a few, and they said, oh, yeah, I would, you know, I would love to come. So I'm just thinking that maybe they didn't get the letters.
Well, I think some of our regulars maybe moved out of the area. That was probably the biggest part of it. The ones who regularly came and prayed for us, went to different churches out of the area, and that happens from time to
And
time.
one of them is back, and I know he would love to come. So
Will you send me?
I will.
Okay.
Right. We have a motion to approve the rules of procedure.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the rules of procedure, all in favor? All right. Number 4, moving on to our regular agenda, do we have an approval for our agenda?
Motion to approve?
Motion and a second to approve the agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, the board received, order filed, the reports of receipts, expenses, and net income for September 30, 2023, and all constitutional officers.
Yeah, so, within the packet, you can see that the total, I don't have the total, it's 304,000. Yeah, it's a little over 304,000 with all of the totals put together, so.
Mr. Chairperson, in the past, the board has utilized this funding to provide incentives for employees. And in light of the, the uncertain future with the GP closure and the recent $2 an hour salary increases, I'm not going to ask for that, obviously, but I'm wondering if you would be in agreement to perhaps fund something like a $50 gift card, as we've done in the past, or something along those lines. If you would like to do something for our employees, this would be the time to have that discussion and make a recommendation.
I would like to do that.
Any other discussion?
I know that we've had problems with gift cards specifically because when you buy a bunch of them, it's been a problem.
I know at Walmart it has.
Yeah, at Walmart, it's been a problem.
Yeah, we can't, Walmart limits the amount you can get per day. Like, we can only do up to $1,000 check per day, and you have to go multiple times. I did, contact Blue Coast, because I had to do that for our wellness cards, and she can order the bulk amount that we need, if it's approved, and she told me she could get them in about 5 days.
And that'd be like a Visa that you can use
It would
anywhere.
be a Visa card.
So the total for all of our employees, which would be part-time, full-time, seasonal, call-in, everyone, it would be $14,000. $14,000 for $50. So obviously, if you want to move incrementally either way, we can work off those numbers.
What was the total?
14,000.
It's $13,950, so, for $50.
So $25 would be.
And that's for all constitutional officers and county employees.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I'd like to ask, Bill Bronze, what do y'all do at the city for Christmas for your employees?
I haven't been there.
Say again?
I have not been there during Christmas when anything was done.
Okay, so since you've been in office, y'all not done anything?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I want to do something for our employees, because I'll tell you, we don't know what's gonna happen next year. And if we can this year, I'd like to, next year may be a different story, we don't know.
So we have a motion to do $50. Do we have any other discussion? In reference to, employee incentives for the holidays? All right. Oh,
Danielle, will that have to come back before the board, before they can be purchased?
The meeting's Monday, so I'll just do a vendor payment request that would go in with the invoices for me to cut the check. I can ask her to go ahead and order them.
Yes.
And then I'll do an invoice request to get the actual check to them.
Yeah, so if you can do, I mean, if
Yeah.
$50 is what you're gonna do or whatever, if we get a motion and a second and
And then that would
approval
give-
for that tonight, then we can
I can go ahead and get her to
go ahead and get
order
it
it.
processed.
Yeah, my motion is for a $50 gift certificate for all employees.
have a motion for a $50 gift certificate for all employees. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
To our consent items, has everyone had a chance to look over your consent items? Do we have any discussion? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion?
A motion to approve our consent. All in favor, do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. to public request. The board to consider approval of request for funding for environmental consulting services for Due Diligence Associates Incorporated, as requested by Michelle Curtis, Citizens Actions Task Force Chair.
Dan?
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Good evening.
I'm Dan Simmons with 3475 Ruby Road. I'm here representing the task force. Michelle could not be here tonight from the call for home, and Chet Thompson also here in state. We support the request that you have before you. We talked about this, the letter from the Economic Development Authority and that request. We support that. We talked that about the last meeting, or it was last meeting. And we did meet with the TCGA, and they proposed a letter, and we support it.
Okay. Any questions?
Well, let's just clarify, and basically what you're asking, I just want to reiterate something that is clear, that you're requesting that we send a letter in support of the Swanee River Water Management to fund,
Check the consulting,
yeah,
the due diligence.
yeah. So we're just supporting that effort.
And also to clarify what that would do with the county in support of this, would any findings, any information that due diligence comes up with during their investigations, and then we would, that information would come back to, would be available to the board.
Yes, and to the public.
And to the public, yes. So,
It can be let out, some information that can be held, can be held.
no. If it's letter of support from this board, then there's no information should be held from this board and the public.
I think if it comes to you, if someone asks you for it, you're gonna be obligated, it's my understanding.
Yes.
That's correct. That's right. I'll make a motion then that we send a letter of support.
I second that motion.
Mr.
Yeah, go
Chairperson,
ahead.
so do you want me to draft a letter and have it on the next week's agenda for signature?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see no problem. If we're gonna approve the letter of support, then I may as well, yeah, we should go ahead and.
That's next Monday.
So it's just less than a week, so
Yeah,
we can draft a letter and put it on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Before we move, and I should have asked this question before I made the motion, but I just want to make sure with our attorney, do you see any issues with this?
No,
Okay. My motion stands.
We have a motion and a second to approve the letter of support. All in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
County staff items. The board to consider, number 20, the board to consider approval of supplemental agreement number 1 and authorizing resolution for the proposed widening resurfacing of Cedar Island Road under the FDOT Small County Road Assistance Program as agendaed by Mr. Dudley.
So this is one of those procedural matters that we have a funding agreement, reimbursement funding agreement with DOT for this project. The deadline that is in section 3, I believe it is, of that funding agreement is approaching. I reached out to DOT and asked if there was a possibility to extend that to allow for the upcoming permitting as well as the balance of the project being construction. They obliged with that. They forwarded the supplemental agreement that is in your packet. And of course, with that, because it is being signed by the chair, it is required for the board to pass a resolution authorizing you to sign that agreement.
We need to read the resolution.
You read it by title.
Yeah.
Motion to read by title only.
Have a second to read the resolution by title only?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Cedar Island Road widening / resurfacing scrap project supplemental agreement number 1, signature authorization.
Right.
Motion to adopt the resolution.
Got a motion to adopt the resolution. Do we have a second? Second, all in favor? Aye. Sorry, approve the agreement, okay, we have a motion to approve the agreement? Motion. Have a motion to approve the agreement, we have a second? Second, all in favor? Aye. All right. 21, the board to consider approval of supplemental agreement number 2 and authorizing resolution for the proposed widening resurfacing of First Avenue South under the FDOT Small County Outreach Program and County Incentive Grant Program, suggested by Mr. Dudley.
So this one is very similar. It is also one of our reimbursement agreements with DOT. This is for the First Avenue project that is actually on your consent agenda for tonight, where we'll be advertising those. Realizing that the current agreement is, and it has an expiration of June of next year, that's insufficient time given the estimate that we think it'll take. So I included this one as an additional request, which DOT offered the attached supplemental agreement, extending that time frame to December of 2024.
We have a motion to read the resolution by title only? Motion. Motion, do we have a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
First Avenue South widening / resurfacing scope CIGP project supplemental agreement number 1, signature authorization.
Move.
Have a motion to approve the resolution, to adopt the resolution, we have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ask for a motion to approve the agreement. Motion. Motion to approve the agreement, we have a second? Second, all in favor? All right. 22, the board to consider approval of supplemental agreement number 2 and authorizing resolution for the proposed widening, resurfacing of Summer Road under the FDOT Small County Outreach Program, agenda by Mr. Dudley.
Here we go again. So this one is actually well into construction. We would have easily met this timeline of the original agreement, but for a little Hurricane Idalia event, so that kind of set us back just a little bit. But we are moving forward past that, recognizing that there is no way for us to achieve this. I have asked DOT, and they obliged to extend this agreement to June 30th of 2024. They provided the agreement that is in your packet.
Motion to read the resolution by title only.
Have a motion to read the resolution by title only, do we have a second? Second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Slaughter Road widening / resurfacing scope project supplemental agreement number 2, signature authorization.
Scratch project.
We have a motion to adopt the resolution.
But it's SCOP.
It says Scott. It does say Scott.
Well, I must have the wrong resolution. Are you sure I may be looking at the wrong item. There's two Slaughter Road items.
Number 22.
We're looking at 22.
22 says stop.
23 says scrap.
23 is scrap.
It doesn't. Whatever you read is good.
All right.
I have both.
I'm right for once.
Yes, sir. How about that?
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution.
Just for the numbers on these things.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to approve the agreement.
We have a motion to approve the agreement, do we have a second? Second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, 23. Board consider approval of supplemental agreement number 2 and authorizing resolution for the proposed widening, resurfacing of Slaughter Road under the FDOT Small County Road Assistance Program, agenda by Mr. Dudley.
So what you're seeing is this is the counterpart to the previous one. If you guys remember, those that were here, Slaughter Road originally was funded as a complete project. It went from 19 all the way up to Harrison Blue. The funding was insufficient, so we requested additional funding under a separate project where they broke it at Freeman Courtney Road up to Harrison Blue. That's why you're seeing a scrap and a SCOP. They're under separate funding agreements. which is why you're having to do this 2 times, but it has it's the same request asking to extend section 3 of that agreement to June to cover the end of the construction period.
Okay, motion to read the resolution by title only.
Is there a second? Second, to read the resolution by title only, all in favor?
Slaughter Road widening slash resurfacing scrap project supplemental agreement number 2, signature authorization.
Good news.
I heard some emphasis on that.
Hey, do we have a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'm with.
Have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor? We have a motion to approve the agreement.
Motion.
Motion and a second to approve the agreement, all in favor? Moving on, 24, the board to consider approval of the Jones Evans Associates Professional Services Agreement for groundwater sampling at the Taylor County landfill.
So what this one is, we are working with DEP to kind of finalize the landfill activity that occurred. There was an original 20-year permit life, which obligated us to monitor and make sure that contaminants didn't exceed environmental thresholds. We finished that time period, and then once we do, we're able to terminate our continued monitoring, that being gas and water monitoring. Unfortunately, when we got to that point in the life of the landfill, there was actually elevated levels of arsenic along a couple of them. If you recall from way back, you generally have an opportunity of, well, if it's on your property, you can use institutional controls and restrictive covenants. If it's not on your property, you tend to have to do remediation. So if you recall, we had the original landfill parcel. We bought a couple of pieces on the southern border, and then we had to buy one more piece on the southern border to make sure that the plume of those contaminants stayed on landfill property. That gave us this opportunity to use institutional controls. We went through a pretty exhaustive effort back some years ago with the then current DEP staff and tried to establish and get them to accept that we believe those arsenic levels were naturally occurring and that they actually were found in the water sampling on the couple of wells that they were. When the wells were installed, it mixed the soils with the water, and we wound up testing and detecting elevated levels of arsenic. Staff then accepted that. The staff now does not accept that. So what they are requiring is that we go back to finish this process out and establish 2 clean meaning the levels haven't increased above what they were then. So we are fully expecting that the level of the arsenic is going to still remain the same or have decreased since we tested originally. But we still have to go through the motions of this because I went back and forth with these guys trying to show them their own documentation where DEP staff had said, yes, we understand this and we agree with this. It didn't matter. It seemed to fall on deaf ears. And if you read in the verbiage of the agenda item, you will see there's a couple of other things that they're asking me to prove, for lack of a better word. One of it is even ownership, to where they're requiring me to go through and do a title search on that property when I am providing them original deeds where we've owned this property for more than 30 years. I mean, it got to the point I was just like, I don't even want to talk to you no more. So this is one of the T's that we have to cross. I've reached out to Jones Edmonds. They were the ones who designed the original landfill closure. They were the firm that we relied on for the full extent of the 20-year observation period. And they actually did the initial efforts with me to try to prepare these restrictive covenants and institutional controls. Fortunately, they provided the professional service agreement that you see in your packet. It is a not to exceed amount. It's $5,300, I think it is. Yeah. We retained money in the landfill reserves, knowing that we would possibly have to address items going forward at the landfill potentially. So that's why I've requested that we take that money, move it into the landfill closure engineering cost account item, and then use those dollars to satisfy DEP.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So now that, excuse me, now that the levels have increased,
No, they haven't. They haven't.
I thought you just said that the arsenic levels are higher.
No, ma'am. No, when we were testing it as part of the monitoring wells, so a part of the original landfill, it had monitoring wells, water monitoring wells along the border. We tested those. They were above the drinking water standards. We purchased additional property to try to get down gradient of that plume. We did that. We still had a level that wasn't below one threshold, but was still above another one. You can term poor, it's quote unquote poor groundwater quality. We meet that threshold. So what they are trying to say to us now is, well, you met it back then, but it's been long enough that we want you to still demonstrate that your levels haven't increased above that. So that's all we're trying to do is make sure that the levels aren't higher than they were before.
So how long do we have to do that? How many
We have to
times?
do 2 samples. We're
Over
going to
what
do,
period of time?
we're going to do 1 this month, and then I think they're quarterly samples. So the next quarter, the first quarter of 2024, we will collect the second one. The laboratory analysis will be run. They have agreed to accept the results of that and not a formal report documentation. As long as they see those, micrograms per liter or whatever the terminology is, I just don't remember right now. Once we show them that and it's still at or below that original level, then we're good with respect to the water monitoring. We don't do it anymore.
So we're done with it after that?
I've already drafted the restrictive covenants for the property. So they are still requiring, and unless they change their mind, and they hadn't done it before, I will have to get a title search on the property. And I think there was one more thing. I gave you like 3 things in the back. It's just I will bring back the adoption of the institutional controls and the restrictive covenants. And basically is what it's saying is, this exists on this property. You need to be aware of it if you purchase property or own property adjacent to it or ever try to acquire this property. So it just stays with the property for life.
It just seems like this has been going on forever.
And these guys are not very easy to deal with.
I know.
This is the DEP.
It started in 1996, I believe this says.
That was the original monitoring timeframe, yes, sir.
And what date did they agree to the previous acceptance, if I might ask? I guess they have free range to come back and request additional testing at will?
Well, we had put forward the results of the closure. We put forward a draft of the restrictive covenants. We got it through them. Staffing changes had happened. We got a notice last year, early part of this year, saying, hey, we need to finish this out, and by the way, we want you to do this. So that's when I started getting involved in it and tried to use the historical documentation, the correspondence, to justify I shouldn't be doing this. It finally got to the point to where I sent it to Mr. Cully, which is that's who the professional service agreement is with, and said, look, am I just beating a dead horse here, or do I need to just go ahead and do what they say? He reviewed all the correspondence that I provided and said, at this point, because those guys aren't there anymore and these are different, you're going to be money ahead just by doing what they're asking for at this point. There's a tough pill to swallow.
But you're really not, I mean, even at that said time, we could still be subjected to an additional request for testing.
We made them put it in writing. If this guy leaves and somebody else shows up before next quarter, potentially. It's him and his boss. I've included both of them every time I've done the discussion. So I've kind of doubled my chances that I won't, but you're right, the possibility's there, but I don't know what else to do at this point. Because DEP has the upper hand. You will either do this or you will remediate. Remediation is too expensive.
Sure, I mean, they're gonna do what they want, and you're gonna do what they want. We get a good education on the DEP once a month, don't we, Mr. Bishop?
You sure do. Mr. Frank,
Anyone
Mr. Harvey, you ought to hear him.
Mr. Frank Robbie, he'll give you, I mean, Mr. Dudley give you just
I know
a
Mr.
short
Robbie.
skinny.
You know Mr.
I
Frank.
know, Mr.
He's a good guy. But anyway, we have a motion to approve the,
Motion.
Second.
Our attorney has something to say.
You know how I despise small print? Come on.
I didn't write it.
You did, no, sir. But attached to the contract, it's got terms and conditions, professional services agreement between client and engineer. And I hate to be sticking in the mud, but I'm gonna be consistent. If you look at paragraph 9 on the terms and conditions that's attached to the, it says limitation of liability. And then down about the fourth line, it says engineer and engineers, officers, directors, employees, shareholders, owners, and subcontractors shall not exceed $500,000 or engineers' total fee for services rendered, whichever is greater. Now, this is $5,300. That's their limit of liability on this thing. So I'm being consistent because I don't like that in a contract. I really don't. I don't like limited liability because you're paying them to do a job and they should do it correctly. Then they also don't have I couldn't find a venue.
5 and 30.
Pardon?
5 and 30. Well, it just references governing law.
It doesn't say venue.
It doesn't say venue.
Got you again tonight. It doesn't say venue.
I did look for it.
I know, we need to look for it, so it doesn't say venue. And then they've got in bold font, pursuant to section 558.0035 Florida statute. And I didn't know what that statute said, so I pulled it out to look at it, and I've got it. And again, it's a contractual limitation on liability from the state. A design professional employed by a business entity or an agent of a business entity is not individually liable for damages resulting from negligence occurring within the course and scope of the professional services contract if the contract is made between the business entity and the claimant or with another entity for a provision of professional services to the claimant. The contract does not name it does not name as a party to the contract the individual employee or agent who will perform the professional services. They got a good lobby. The contract includes a prominent statement in upper-uppermost font that is at least 5 points. That's what's in here, the 5 points. And the business entity maintains any professional liability insurance required under the contract. And any damages are solely economic in nature, and the damages do not extend to personal injuries or property not subject to the contract. As used in the term, business entity means any corporation, limited liability company, partnership, limited partnership, proprietorship, firm, enterprise, franchise, associate, self-employed individual, or trust, which fictitiously named or not doing business in the state. And the only reason I mention all these things is because, number one, we need to be, y'all and me and everyone that's involved in this, we need to be aware of these contracts if it's a great contract. What I mean by a great contract, monetarily big, and for limits of liability. $5,300 is $5,300, plus the fact that if I listen closely to what Kenneth said, we're kind of darned, we kind of have to do this, and this is a way to get this done inexpensively. But I'm just warning y'all that I will always, I hope, if I can see the font, inform y'all on those kind of things that I think are very important. Because, remember there were some contracts where whoever they were trying to limit their liability to whatever they were paid. And If I remember correctly, we told them about it and they took it out. Wanda, did they not? Okay. I don't know whether they would take this out or not.
So my response, if I might, is that I see this reference to speaking to individual liability associated with the physical employee themselves. That doesn't take and negate the liability associated with the firm itself, which is addressed under item 8.
That's what the statute says.
Yes, sir, understood. And that references an individual employee being individually liable.
Right.
Relative to item 8, under item 8C, you see that they are telling you that they will maintain comprehensive general liability insurance of $1 million.
So we put in our contracts, naming us as
an additional insured.
As a beneficiary of that insurance policy. I'm just making my clients aware.
Do I need to amend my motion?
I think what I said was, I think that Kenneth was saying that, we just about got to do this, right? And he's performed well to get it done for not a whole lot of money. But I wouldn't, I'm consistent. I try to be as consistent as I can. I'm saying that you probably want to do what your engineer says on this.
Okay, my motion stands.
But
Motion to approve, do you have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Thanks, and I will bring back the results of that and let you know. Hopefully it'll be accompanied by the draft restrictive covenants and institutional corporate controls to get you guys to accept it. At which time, once we get DEP to accept it, then we'll report it in the clerk's office, and we'll be done.
Thank you.
All right, 25, the board to consider approval of modification number 1 to sub-grant agreement between the Department of Commerce and Taylor County requesting a 1-year extension to the Community Development Block Grant for housing rehabilitation and/or replacement projects presented by Grant Writer.
Hey everybody, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, congratulations, Chairman English and Vice Chair Newman, for another year. On this CDBG, we are requesting a modification to the grant for the 1-year extension. After you hopefully approve that, we have another issue to discuss on CDBG, but initially, the 1-year extension, we need your approval on that grant modification. We are requesting it because it has taken longer to get some of the environmental approval that we needed for these projects. In addition, we now have to get tribal approvals on CDBG funded projects, and that just took a longer period of time than was originally anticipated.
Okay. Any discussion?
Okay.
Motion and a second to approve, all in favor?
Aye.
Right. Move on, 26.
Okay, next on CDBG, the board had previously approved the bid documents on 4 housing projects for demo and new construction. When we received the documents, and like I said, y'all approved moving forward, we reviewed them, but we missed a sentence in those bid documents that indicated that the homes that we would be replacing, the demo and reconstructions with, were manufactured housing. And we missed the manufacturers. With CDBG funds, we have always removed mobile homes, if it's a mobile home project, and replaced it with a site-built home. And we did not catch that in those bid documents. It was not anything we had discussed with the board. The homeowners were unclear on what they were getting. I know at least one of them thought they were getting a site-built home, because that's how we've always did it with the CDBG program. In addition, we are providing SHIP funds as part of the match, and at this time, SHIP funds cannot be used for mobile homes. We actually found this out through a vendor contacting me in reference to the mobile home. So I immediately contacted Ms. LaWanda, and we set up a meeting with Guardian because this had not been discussed with us. We were unaware that they intended on replacing these with manufactured housing. So we scheduled a meeting with Guardian, and he indicated to us that he did not think we could afford to do homes based on homes that they had constructed in Monroe County, which has absolutely nothing to do with Taylor County. So we provided them costs on homes that we recently had constructed with SHIP funds, and we have rescinded the bid documents and canceled the bidding process and asked Guardian to do new bid documents based on these houses being site-built homes, as we've always done in the past, and how we believe our homeowners thought that they were getting. Like I said, homeowners were very unclear on what they were getting, and so we've rescinded the documents we formally approved and are moving forward with site-built homes. We believe that we can do these houses as site-built based on previous housing costs with SHIP. In addition, Jamie contacted Wakulla County, which recently also did site-built homes through CDBG, and got housing costs on their most recent site-built homes, which fell in line with what we thought that we could anticipate here in Taylor County. So I do apologize to y'all that we had not caught this in the previous bid documents, but we wanted to follow procedure as we have done in Taylor County in the past and make sure that the homeowners understood what they were getting with the replacement of their homes. Do you have any questions?
Melody, when these projects are rebid, can potential homeowners have a choice between a site-built home and a manufactured home if they, say they want a larger home, or do you anticipate any requests for that?
I do not anticipate that, but we will be replacing, like if they have a 2-bedroom, 1 bath right now, that's what we replace. If they have a 3-bedroom, 1 bath, we replace that size. You do not and never have gotten an option to get a bigger home.
Okay. So it really wouldn't benefit?
We replace for what you have now, but as a new home.
Any other questions?
Melody, I have another question. If there's, I don't know how the board feels about manufactured homes versus site-built homes. I'm sure there's, preference one way or the other, but should we consider one or the other, or should we only stick with site-built homes? Is there any particular reason that could we possibly provide more homes if we offered one or the other? Could we get more homes replaced, do you think? Or is it clear that we could have a site-built home built for the same cost as a mobile home?
From the feedback we've had received so far, we felt like we could do site-built homes for approximately the same amount. We have done site-built homes. We have always done site-built homes, so I'm just trying to stick with what we have done until we make program changes within SHIP. Because, like I said, with the SHIP match, that put us in a position that we were gambling that the rehab came in to match SHIP because we cannot use SHIP for mobile homes. Plus, our homeowners, I didn't want to make a change midstream on what we have done in the past because of what our citizens anticipate. I didn't want to, we've told so many people no in the past that until we make an actual local housing assistance plan change, I didn't want us to change midstream and break protocol from what we have done in the past. Now, with that said, if our bids come back considerably higher, we can amend the LHAP, but that changes everything as far as moving forward with these, because then we have to go to Florida Housing, change the LHAP, wait for state approval on that, advertise through the public hearing process that we're changing it, which in May of 2024, we're required to amend the LHAP now, so it made no sense at this time to, go through this and then have to go through it again in May. So we were trying to be fair and stick with what we have done and what our local housing assistance plans have in place right now. Plus, I don't think any of the board was aware that we were making a change and not doing site-built homes. And we've done site-built homes in the past, in addition, because homeowner insurance tends to be at a lower amount for a site-built home than a mobile home or a manufactured home. And all the homeowners are required to carry homeowners insurance at the time they move into the home. So we've always tried to protect them on their future costs too.
My preference would be to stay with site-built homes. Now, have we never replaced a mobile home with a mobile home?
Not with
Never.
CDBG.
No, not in the 23 years I've been involved with the program.
Okay.
And that's due in part because we always we have to provide a match to get a CDBG grant to get those points. And we've always used SHIP funds, which are allowable since that's state funds. In the SHIP program in the past did not allow, as you know, we've always had to turn down SHIP assistance for mobile homes. Now, in 2024, we can amend the LHAP to include the rehabilitation of mobile homes now. But at this time, that's not allowable in our local housing assistance plan. But in the future, we can do that. And that was another reason I immediately contacted LaWanda to follow our current SHIP plan, because we have turned down numerous people after Hurricane Idalia on repairing mobile homes. And, I don't think until we amend our SHIP plan properly that it's fair to suddenly say, oh, we changed our mind, we're going to do the program differently. I think right now, given Hurricane Idalia and what is going on in St. Clair County, we need to follow our rules as we have in the past until we make that proper change in 2024 after the required SHIP LHAP public hearing process.
Okay, so with the rehabilitation of a mobile home, would it still follow the same guidelines that are, if it's more than 50%
Yes, ma'am.
in disarray, for lack of a better word, that it's not, fixable then?
Yes, it will still be the 51%.
We need to start with what we did.
Yes, and the main difference will be down the road when we amend the SHIP LHAP in 2024. Right now, we're able to help mobile home people using these CDBG funds. In the past, we cannot help anybody with a mobile home that's within the city limits because that falls under SHIP. And we've had to say no numerous times because of, SHIP not allowing, and SHIP can be used within the city limits. So when we make that change to the LHAP, we will be able to help mobile home owners within the city limits.
Ellen, do you need a motion to approve this?
No, because, the board needs to approve rescinding the bid document?
Yeah. I was looking at Mr. Bishop, he says we do need a motion, so, I will.
Okay.
That's to rescind.
Ask for a motion to, approve this item.
Okay.
So we need board approval to formally rescind the bid documents for the replacement of these homes. And then the consultant will restructure the bid documents so it will not be for mobile homes, it will be for site-built homes, which is what we've always done.
Motion to rescind. Do we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. You got one more minute. The board.
I got two more.
I'm sorry. 26, the board to discuss the upcoming funding cycle for the fiscal year 2030 Florida Department of Transportation, Transportation Alternatives Program, presented by Brett Schreier.
The board is eligible to apply for 2 projects, as we do annually. Last year, your 2 projects, Johnson Stripling and then, to Grace Drive-In that stretched there along 221 were approved, as far as design and development. They will later be funded for the actual construction. Kenneth contacted FDOT, and there's not a need to resubmit for the actual construction dollars. So we are eligible to submit 2 applications this year for 2 new projects. Staff did have some recommendations for the construction of the sidewalk along Industrial Park Drive to Puckett Road due to what we're trying to accomplish at the Horseman's Arena. And that's recommended plantation to US Highway 19, and then a sidewalk from West Ash from Miller to US Highway 19. I know the board probably has ideas, but we need to know if you would like to move forward with application for this, what 2 projects you would like to see completed, and then we will move forward with our public hearing process.
So what are the options other than sidewalks?
You can do modifications to existing sidewalks to make them more handicap accessible. You can do, for example, at Hampton Springs, we actually use TAP funds for the construction of the restrooms out there. If you have like an existing trailhead that you wanted to do, you can put in pedestrian and bicycle safety signals. You can do overlooks and viewing areas if you have like a scenic spot that you wanted to access, are the main uses of this grant.
Chairman, if I could, I talked with staff in respect to these possible projects, and if the board recall, we did speak about potential for sidewalk access around Steinhatchee School. I would reiterate the need for that, and also the need for the history and facts here that this is about safety-related infrastructure. And my proposal would be that this particular connector sidewalk would be parallel 10th Avenue from the Steinhatchee River Bridge to First Avenue alongside the sheriff's substation and encompassing the Steinhatchee School, if that's not already in the development somewhere else, Mr. Engineer.
No, I'm only working on the sidewalk that is on the north side of First Avenue as part of the roadway project.
Right, the one that just went out for bid.
That's going to go up for bid, yes, sir.
So that sidewalk actually has a connector through this same program from that stop sign at First Avenue to Roy's Restaurant or the condos.
Actually, that project, the Transportation Alternatives Program project, picks up at Riverside.
Right, at the end of the
At
First
the end
Avenue.
of my roadway project, it goes to the condos.
Right, so that wouldn't include any of this area that we're speaking about around Steinhatchee School or the area from Steinhatchee River Bridge to the intersection of First Avenue, so.
No, sir, I haven't considered coming from the bridge or inscribing the school as a potential project yet.
But that would qualify for this funding.
It is a transportation alternative, yes.
So that would be my suggestion as far as needs in respect to the growth in Steinhatchee and the safety there around the bridge and also around the school. So.
Where are you talking about around the school, just for my?
So if you look at the block around Steinhatchee School.
So from 10th to 12th?
Basically.
So the sheriff's substation is on 10th on the west side of the school.
That's right.
So you're going
on the north
up.
side, so you would go north, east, and south, connecting to First
So
Avenue.
you want to start at the bridge,
Yes.
cross First Avenue, go to Central, turn east, go to 12th, turn south, and tie back into First.
Correct.
Is that behind the school? I'm sorry.
Part of it will be.
You mentioned from 221 over to 19, was that one thing that she was talking about?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, well, you would go from.
No, it was from Jefferson up to 21 as far as Graves.
But I thought there was one over to 19.
Yes, ma'am. So it is a long plantation.
Yeah, Astrid.
The one that was suggested picks up at Southside Park and runs a long plantation to connect to the sidewalk that's on US 19 now. It closes that loop. That was one of the suggestions. The other suggestion was to start at US 19 on Ash Street, go westward to its intersection at Miller, to where you provide a walking path for all of that big neighborhood that's there.
And then that would have a connection to the sports complex also.
It would not only connect to the sports complex, but it would connect to the sidewalk path that we have as part of the Ash Street Road project that carries you eastward to all the way, if we can do the other one, to Johnson Stripling and then turns to the high school.
I like that plan. Now, for is Lawanda for Pinecrest. Now that's taken care of in another fund, right?
That's in design through the LAB program.
That's the First Avenue that I referenced earlier and Pinecrest are both right around the 60% design mark under the local agency programs. So those are being designed. I think they go to construction 2024, probably late 2024, somewhere around there.
I'd like to see us continue on with what we've got started before we add something new and different.
Well, I think and Melody can clarify some of this, we're not talking about current fiscal years, we're talking years out. I think it's 2028, 2029, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's a ways down the road, pardon the pun.
I've just proposed, this particular suggestion, that these other areas, aren't they within the city limits of Perry?
The Ash Street, yes, because Miller is the western edge of it, and yes, the other one would be because it's on Plantation, yes, sir.
Right. So, I mean, there's no other option when we talk about Steinhatchee School. There is no city limits.
No, we only have one city in Tevican.
So my objective would be that there is no other potential when it comes down to this possibility. And that's why when we see the continued growth and we are citing safety infrastructure, this is an area that encompasses the Steinhatchee School. And it would be a connector in reference to the project that is going to be completed, I believe, by the end, this time next year. So, in understanding and looking at the needs that are there currently and the projected growth that's ongoing, I don't really see that there's a grand consideration. My focus there is we already have school children at Steinhatchee School. They're already currently, there is a segment of sidewalk at First Avenue there, but it stops. As we know, it's going to get connected with this resurfacing project. But in looking at the potential for expansion and growth, and not just for the sense of school was out in the summer, but for tourism and things of that magnitude when it comes down to safety and how congested those areas can get, I would highly appreciate that consideration from this board when we look at the amount of traffic, the amount of pedestrians, and the amount of improved safety that we could net by prioritization of this potential project.
And I guess when I look at possibilities for projects, I try to think about destinations or trip generators when I start thinking about connecting things. So I don't disagree that you have a populace that's down 12th to where it gets all up into Duncan Lane. There's a pretty good bit of residences down in that area. So I can see some of the possibility of running down 12th. I don't know that necessarily I would see the same conditions for being parallel on Central, nor do I necessarily see a pedestrian generator coming down on the west side of the school like you do along First Avenue. So, if you're going to suggest a project, I would just ask you to consider, why are we putting it here? Where are we taking people from and taking them to? Because that's the ones that are going to use it. If we just put it somewhere that they don't have a reason to use that pathway, then they're not going to use it.
I agree with that.
My point in that is it's on the west side of the school facility. So school children certainly go on both sides and above and below where the school's located.
Well, the west side of the school, and correct me if I'm wrong, that is actually all fenced and is where the athletic fields are.
It is around the fields, but the children also use the fields.
I didn't think they were able to get outside of the fence though.
There are access.
And I've never stepped foot on the field, I just drive by it, of course.
Of course.
Then you're more of an expert on it than I am, because I would just
And
see
the reason for my suggestion.
we wouldn't, I see that. I would not expect that there would be permissiveness of kids to be able to go through that fence line out into the adjacent right-of-way. I don't see a large pedestrian attraction on that side nor Central like I do on further past the new fire station that's supposed to be going there all the way up to 2nd Avenue North, which connects into that whole Duncan Lane area. But that's just my suggestion. I just gave you the reason why I make suggestions of where I do. That's what I consider. Take it for what it's worth.
But would it not be fair to say, in respect to the additional sidewalk segment and where that actually is going to end up, that it's a fair probability that the foot traffic or pedestrian use is going to increase, since the connection is gonna be from, actually Tri-County Electric all the way to Roy's Restaurant. So that's gonna, you know, what I'm saying is, the completion of the project that's going out for bid in itself is going to increase the use, and also obviously should increase the potential use around the substation.
Realistically, what I think is going to happen is it's going to translate some of the golf cart traffic out of the road and put them on the sidewalk. That's really what I think is going to happen.
And certainly that's a potential.
It is a safety improvement. It's not good business to mix pedestrians and motorized vehicles, but I know that's the way they use it today. And realize that we are repairing that segment that's between Maddie's Market and Tri-County, or 15th Street or Riverside, whatever you want to call it. So we are making that better. Do I expect that that will increase pedestrian traffic? Absolutely, or else I wouldn't be including it in the project. Do I think that it was a good idea to go all the way out to the condos? Absolutely. It's a huge arterial through there that we would much rather get the bicycles and the walking traffic out of a major collector road and put them off onto a sidewalk. So yes, I see the benefit of that infrastructure through there. I'm just telling you that I don't necessarily see as much of the same benefit perpendicular to that on the route that you suggested. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, this money could be talking about alternate routes. What about from Swartz Street to Loftus Park? There's no sidewalks over there in that area at all.
There is a sidewalk that goes out to Lothridge to the entrance.
Swartz Street's off of 98 to Loftus Park.
And then the application that we submitted last year for the Sun Trail project actually runs along 98 from town all the way to the Alcilla River, and that's a 10-foot path, not just a sidewalk. So we're trying to provide an alternate route all the way through town. That would encapsulate the same area I think that you're talking about.
If it's on 98, yeah, but it doesn't connect to Loftus Park as far as going to the buildings or anything like that.
No, Lothridge is beyond my expectations is to put it on the south side of 98. So yes, you would have a roadway crossing there. Thankfully, it's a 2-lane undivided highway versus a divided. But I actually submitted the application. It's going to planning in April and May of next year. I've already had consultants reaching out to me, asking me questions about it. So it has a little bit of momentum. You know, will the full $60 million project get constructed? Probably not. I think they'll break it into 3 segments. I think they'll do South 19, West 98, and then the center. I'm gonna try to get them to the center first because I think that's the largest population and usage of it, and then we can connect the dots afterwards.
So,
Mr. Chair, I would like to see us table this, and because, you know, I'm not following exactly what everybody's talking about, and if I could, you know, have a visual, if I could see it on a map or something, I just don't think that I'm ready to make any kind of decision tonight.
well, the 3 items that was proposed was, one was the industrial parkway out by the airport. Wasn't that?
Right, Industrial Park Drive to Puckett,
Yes.
from 19 along Industrial Park Drive to Puckett Road.
And then we had from Plantation from the south side park there around to 27th.
The 19.
Mhm.
T West 19.
I got you. Plantation to 19. And then we had Miller on Ash Street, Miller to 19.
Mhm. And the grants are due in January, so we had the public hearing scheduled for next week, at your board meeting.
I'll be honest with you, I understand it all pretty clear. I mean, I understand the suggestions made by staff and that there's reason for the suggestions. I know Commissioner Newman's got, projects down in Steenhatchee he's looking to sidewalk projects looking to get done. Sounds like there needs to be more discussion around that at some point, and can always be done at the future sidewalk projects for next year. And I'm okay to go ahead and choose 2 projects tonight and move on.
Well, I like the ones that we've already identified.
And I mean, 2 of the suggested projects that connects and, move. Is that what we're needing to do is, choose 2 projects, Melanie?
Yes, so that we can hold these public hearings, so we can get these applications submitted in January. And, you know, Kenneth made the suggestion on Plantation to US Highway 19. And, you know, that may be something you want to seriously consider due to the additional improvements we're making at Southside Park and putting in those new pickleball courts. And that offers connection then to your old Dixie Highway Trail, which is already in place.
Yes.
So you're doing a connector there, and we all know Southside Park's being much more heavily used now, so that may be something that you really want to consider, and then that will connect in with your sidewalks along there on 19.
Well, I'm gonna recommend to do the section from Southside Park to 19 and the, Ash Street from Miller to 19. That's my recommendation.
I'll make a motion for those 2.
Right, we have a motion for, sidewalks for, from Southside Park to 19 and sidewalk on Ash Street from Miller to 19.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No. All right. So, all right, 27. The board to discuss the upcoming 2029-2030 funding cycle for the FDOT Shared Use Non-Motorized Sun Trail Grant Program as agendaed by the grant writer.
The funding cycle is open for this, and as Kenneth just indicated, last year it was funded, the planning grant for Alcilla to US 19, from US 19 to 10, the planning grant portion of that has been funded. If you choose to move forward, you may want to consider from Tennille through to Steinhatchee on to connecting to Dark Island there. That way that kind of continues what you're trying to accomplish. And I know last year there was some support for your coastal trails along there. That also is part of the Austin Greenways and Trails priority trail map and has connection to several trailheads within your wildlife management areas. Or you may choose to do something different. I would recommend, if you do want to submit a Sun Trails grant, that we stick with the planning grant as Kenneth has on saying for the other section, so that we have a good plan on how we would like to move forward with that. I would not recommend construction because we have no idea what will be needed along there. I know there's some environmentally sensitive areas, so if you choose to do that, I would recommend the planning aspect also. This is for 2030 funding. But, I mean, that is the board's decision on if you want to submit the grant or select a totally different area.
So, Melanie, connecting that trail down to Dark Island, Keaton Beach, at some point, will we be able to bring that and connect it down the beach highway to 19, coming through the Ezel Beach?
Yeah, you could either submit for another Sun Trail to connect them back in at 19, or you could do segments of transportation alternatives down the road if you chose to do that. But I would say probably the Sun Trail would be your best, because that's a good plan to interconnect all these systems within Taylor County and connect in with what the statewide plan is also.
Melody and or Kenneth, if we submit a planning grant, would that be in competition for construction dollars for the 1002 to 19? Would the planning grant dollars compete with construction grant dollars?
Yes, it's one pot of money and it would compete with the total funding available in the Sun Trail program.
I was remembering like 200.
Like if we got the planning grant, we would need to resubmit down the road when we know what we're doing for construction dollars.
So is it better to have both segments to have a firm plan and have all that laid out before we need to worry about construction dollars competition? I don't know.
I would think so, because you open up, not only does it open up Sun Trail dollars, but it also opens up Office and Greenways and Trails dollars, or say down the road you decide you wanted to take some of your, the coastal trail along your coastline is eligible for Restore Act dollars. So, you may decide if your feasibility study for the bypass says it's not doable, you always have the option that you could use some of those dollars for the construction of that. It's always better, and I'm sure Kenneth will agree with this, if you have a shovel-ready project and know what you're doing, your funding opportunities are so much stronger if you're ready to go on something. And since it's tourism development, if you have your plans in place and have a shovel-ready project, you can always ask for a budget appropriation. But anytime you're shovel-ready, you're such a stronger grant.
So it sounds like the greatest path forward would be to request the planning grant for the potential area from Tunnels all the way back around to Highway 19.
Well, we already. Go ahead, Melody.
I would say to Dark Island,
Right.
to connect with the existing sidewalk you have there, I would say, that's much more fundable, because there's only so much funding within the program, and, you want to keep that in mind, but I would say, that connection from 19 at Channel to Dark Island would be your strongest funding option.
Melody, do we have to resubmit for construction dollars for the Sun Trail?
Yes.
Not on the one that we have already submitted.
Correct. So that's the only concern, that if.
That one has a life of its own.
Okay. Just for planning. For Sun Trail?
Construction will be considered later. But we don't have to resubmit to request that.
Would this be the same scenario?
I don't know. I pursued the whole project on last year's submission. I didn't break it into phases. I didn't request planning on it. I said, this is what we want to do.
But what we would request would include feasibility.
That's what she's suggesting.
Because of the environmentally sensitive areas, right, Melody?
Yes, there's like a check off and we can say planning, feasibility study. I don't know, Dennis, would you recommend a design and engineering or just planning and feasibility study?
Well, ideally, I would ask for the full gamut, if that's what you truly think is the best priority.
I guess my only concern is if the two projects compete with each other, obviously.
I don't disagree.
I hate to potentially lose funding on that much larger segment for a smaller project.
So how about just take and the board identify which they feel is the most preferred alternative? We can reach out to Amy Roberson next tomorrow, and ask her, should we be concerned with regards to the competitiveness if we submit multiple year projects? And if she gives us the all clear, we can move forward. If she says no, these will come from a finite amount of dollars, then we can say, do we want to hold course and stay where we're going with the last year's submission, or do we want to change that and go with this one? If they receive an application for a project that is less costly and less cumbersome, they're going to take it, is my thought.
So you would need direction as far as the planning and the design and the feasibility.
Amy Roberson is, yes, sir. If that's really what you guys need to do, is say, this is the one that we would like to pursue, and we want to pursue this facet of that project, that being planning, design, and construction. So pick a path, and then just apply for everything. We will go through the contact at DOT, ensure that there's not a competitive nature to it. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, Melody can move forward with the application.
The pun.
I said that once already, though. I can't use it twice.
I'd like a motion to move forward in that capacity. Yes, sir.
Correct.
So exactly, what is the motion?
The motion is to move forward with planning, the design, and the feasibility study of the segment from Tennels to Steinhatchee to Dark Island.
I would throw construction in there too.
Construction, I'm sorry. Missed that.
If it's appropriate, and then if you receive.
If it's non-competitive.
Right.
So if it's not detrimental to the project we already have in place,
right,
pursue it. If it's detrimental, then my suggestion would be, don't jeopardize that other one, because it stands to affect a lot of people.
Yeah, running down by the state management area, by swamp and all, will make that will be a big plus to get it approved. Because you got all that state land, and up on Tennels, between Tennels and Steinhatchee, you got state land putting up to it on the highway too. So, that'll be a plus for it.
I will say this, the application that we submitted last year followed the Sun Trail corridor. And that's why it was so well received, is because we were telling them, we want to help you complete the original plan that you had envisioned. So it was very well received.
But this segment does not.
I don't think so, yeah. I don't disagree that, I remember it being part of that Taylor Coastal Loop, going from Keaton Leisure Retreats or something all the way down around to at least to Steinhatchee. I don't think it made the 51 leg, but maybe it did. So I see that in that context. I don't recall it being in the Sun Trail vision.
I believe I saw a section that actually connected Mayo all the way down to Steinhatchee in a proposal as far as the trail. So
the Sun Trail?
If it wasn't that, it was through the Department of Greenways. There's a proposal.
Maybe.
So.
Maybe.
Mr. Chair, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I get a lot of feedback from the community about so many dollars going on the south end. Do y'all get feedback like that? People complaining that we're spending too much on the south end? I hear that quite a bit.
I haven't gotten that myself, just being honest, I haven't gotten that, but.
Yeah.
I haven't heard complaints about that, but you look at the tax money that comes out of the south end, it makes
the revenues are pretty substantial, let's say it that way.
That's true. That's a big plus for that area.
Yeah, I'm just saying some of the feedback that I get, that people are complaining, y'all spend all your money on the south end, which we don't. But, I hear that quite often.
The tax base is just strong in that area, is what I'm saying.
Well, and tourism is, and all those are gonna continue to generate those.
There's a lot of money spent down in that area.
Plans are underway for the Fiddle Crab Festival. All those things continue to generate revenues. So is there money invested in the south end of the county? I would say money is generated and money is invested, but I would call it an investment, not just an expenditure. And I would also say there's quite a healthy return on investment when you look at the values and the revenues of all those properties down there. So I think it's warranted.
Well, and please keep in mind, several of the projects we're doing, that people hear a lot about is Restore Act Fund, which can only be spent on coastal projects and on the coastline. So I think people hear that a lot too, and you know, all that no match, and it's the BP oil spill money, so, and that can only be spent, like I said, in certain areas.
That's 25 miles of that beach, or that coast you're talking about. I thought that's what I heard one time. The BP money could be spent within 25 miles of the coast. Now, we haven't spent any money coming up that toward Taylor County, toward Perry. All that money's been spent down near that coast, the BP money. So we are spending quite a bit of money. Pam, you right. I mean, she's not wrong. We spend quite a money to get it money down there, and we get quite a bit of taxes down there. When you go to spending money, you have people, you have segments of the community that's not quite as popular as that. Now, are you gonna cut them out because they're not as popular, or are you gonna do what's right for the whole county? That's what we need to think about.
Well, I think, I don't wanna get into how much money we spend on the north, south, east, or west end of the county, more or less. I look at this particular project that we're referring to as something that connects. I mean, we've already got this trail running from Nassau River all the way to Tennels, which runs right through the city limits, right on out to the west side, and all we're doing is connecting the dots that enhances that same trail. So someone could potentially jump on that trail and never get off of it for a long time. And, whether they're in the city, on the west side of the county, or on the south side of the county. Hopefully one day, maybe there's an opportunity to connect it to the north side of the county. And I'm sure there will be, but, I look at it as, hey, we're doing something that's right to the benefit of all the citizens of this community, that trail is not really set up just for people on the south end. If somebody on the west end wants to ride that sucker all the way around, all the way back, they can do it. I mean, from the Osceola all the way to Steinhatchee and back, they can do it. So, for me, I don't have a problem with the trail and the path that we're going down, as long as we can get the approval and not hinder the project that we already have in our hand. So, we do have a motion and a second.
Second.
We'll go to vote now. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That'd be a no for me.
Okay, we'll hold the public hearing at the next board meeting because the public hearing is required for this, project too.
Melody, will that be December 4th? Next week?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
This particular grant is due by December 20th. So we're, the transportation alternative is January 12th, and this is December 20th. So we've got kind of pretty tight timelines.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bishop.
Oh, do I have something?
Do you have anything?
No, sir.
County attorney items.
Yeah, I knew I didn't have anything, so I closed my book.
All right.
0.
County administrator items.
Just a few updates for the board.
Jumping at
Just as a reminder, our December calendar, December 4th, we have a regular board meeting, December 19th. We have a meeting traditionally that's really just to approve invoices. I think we'll be receiving some proposals, correct?
The San Pedro sheet pile.
Okay. But that should be a short agenda. On December 12th is our workshop. primarily to discuss redistricting. All of these meetings are at 6 o'clock. Also did want to inform the board that Mr. Joe Collins has been hired as the Veteran Services Officer. So he is returning to us. The office hours will be Tuesday and Thursday from 8 to 5, Wednesday from 1 to 5. We had some wonderful candidates for the position, but Joe brings a wealth of knowledge with him, and we're very excited for him to return back to us. And I have to talk about debris, even though I've been consumed by discussion of debris, it seems like, for quite some time. But I do have an update. I did learn today that the Florida Department of Emergency Management has hired a consulting firm to survey our non-county maintained roads and provide an estimate for debris removal to DEM. That's all I know. I don't know if it will be funded. But that is action.
Yes, it is.
So I will just wait and see how that turns out. I know that I have been asked several times for an estimate. There is no way that we can estimate where, I just wouldn't know how to estimate debris that's on roads. Plus, it can change pretty rapidly. So with the deadline of November 30th to have the debris out for the second pass, I feel fairly confident that they'll be able to provide an accurate estimate, and then we'll just have to see what happens after that.
What's the timeline on that?
But
On the, getting the estimate together?
so, I was told today that hopefully by the end of the week or next week, that estimate would be complete. So, we'll see.
And then once they
I have no
all
idea.
that, where's it going then?
I don't know. I'm very concerned because, I think that our current contractors only anticipate another few weeks of debris removal. I would think that they would want to be complete by Christmas and move on to a different area. So, I feel like it's obviously making me anxious, and not knowing what the plan is just adding to the anxiety over this situation. But I've tried to be patient and just get as many answers as I can when I can. It's a concerning situation.
The workshop on 12/12,
Yes.
December 12th, that's redistricting. Are we just looking to dial that map in that night and vote it in on the 19th? Is that what we're gonna do?
I don't, I think if we try to start, this process, the first meeting in January, then it's about a 30-day process, so we can have it finished by February 9th. So I think if we plan on the first meeting in January, which will be,
Is there enough time for that?
I think so.
For them to draft that and get in there, and that's an election, not March.
The February 9th, I believe, is the deadline for us to have everything complete. I believe so. I'll double check the dates. Another quick discussion about debris. From what I understand, DEP has concluded the debris removal in waterways. I am not entirely sure that every piece of debris has been removed. But when I actually did get an email from DEP today that informed us that we could apply for funding through the Department of Emergency Management for dredging and I guess possibly additional debris removal. I have not had an opportunity to review all of the documents. This is very new to us, but I will. We have a deadline of, I think, January 12th to have funding requests submitted through the emergency management portal. So we are going to have to study those documents pretty hard and pretty quickly.
Do we have information from DEP that substantiates their final pass as to the debris collection in the waterways?
I have not been able to obtain that information. I was advised by the contractor that they may or may not have, picked up every piece of debris. I do know that, with an occlusion in the waterway, the stand is still, that there were some areas they could not reach. I know I asked specifically about Spring Warrior, and they did not feel like there was a sufficient amount of debris to substantiate the work effort, basically. So,
One area is the Steinhatchee River.
I
Continue to get reports from captains that state that they're damaging their equipment because of debris that's currently.
I will continue the discussions with DEP, but it's been a difficult process to communicate, unfortunately, with DEP. It's not been as transparent as our communications with FDOT. And we haven't really been given an opportunity to ask them to do what they don't feel like is in their scope. So if they are, and it feels like what they're telling us is you can pursue debris removal through a different funding source. But I will continue to work through that, and I will update the board. But what I thought I heard was, we're done, and here is how you can apply for funding. So, and I do know that there is funding through the Hurricane Idalia Relief Bill, and that's what we're trying to navigate through, pardon one, again, is how to.
Carefully navigate.
Yes, because some of that funding is grant funding and some of it is loan funding. So, and that's where, worst case scenario, if at least we'll have an estimate of the amount of debris. So if we have to apply for a loan for further debris removal, at least I'll know how much we need to ask for. So it is helpful to have a survey of these areas, so we even know what we're looking at.
And at this point, all the contractors have demobilized from the waterways?
Yes, that was my
So that
understanding.
will increase any further additional cleanup is the mobilization of those contractors that were
It will be
already
the
here.
same way with the debris, with the roadway debris removal. If the crews leave and have to come back, then they will have to remobilize and be called back, which is why we've tried to, get everything done while they're here. But it's been a difficult process. And I've had many, many, many discussions with both at the state level about it.
Yeah, when you start talking about loans, I get real nervous about that. So my question could we redirect some of the sales tax money to take care of this?
I don't believe, the 1 cent sales tax funding, I believe it would probably take a change in our ordinance. Because
That can be done.
That can be done, yes, but now, y'all jump in if I'm going down the wrong path, but I believe because of the population of our county being less than 50,000 residents, that we can use our 1 cent sales tax, not for infrastructure necessarily, but for operations, because we currently use 1 cent sales tax for our ambulance service, or a portion of it.
Yeah, that's what, we changed the ordinance to say that.
Correct, yeah. Well, that's capital purchases. So anything, but I think our ordinance is very specific in that the only operational function where we can use that funding is for our ambulance service. So, yes, we could.
Before we do that, we need to have a say about paying.
Oh, I have.
I'm not saying it's not, but I think before we go to spending our 1 cent money, we need to keep hounding the state.
Yes.
Well, of course, but what I'm referring to You know, the state won't do anything and it comes down, we've got all this debris and we've got an estimate, and so what are we gonna do? Are we gonna take out a loan? That scares me, or is there another avenue which possibly could be use of some of the sales tax money? I'd rather do that than to take out a loan, not knowing what's gonna happen here. We've got an idea of what's gonna happen.
The timing is less than perfect.
Is any of the funding from the special session designated for waterway funding?
Yes. Well, for dredging. So I haven't,
That's two different concepts.
It
It's
is.
a debris
So-
removal versus, we have both, so I'm not.
that is something I'm still trying to run down. But what I'm trying to determine is what you have to get a loan for and what you have to get, you could get a grant for. So I actually requested some documentation last week because I did, and Melody and I both attended a webinar that was not clear. So I did receive documentation today, I just have not had time to read it all. And I asked Melody to help me review it, and we will sort it out and know exactly what our options are. But I was a little concerned about, it's not all grant funding, some of it is loans. And I'm concerned, obviously, about repayment of the loans. And also, we do have there's a ticking clock because any FEMA claims, we only have 180 days. So I'm trying to move as quickly as I can, because once it gets past 180 days, then there's a concern about reimbursement by FEMA. So, and I know we're not really close to that, but the way the days are flying by, that concerns me as well. So I'm really trying to get some resolution. We've got contractors, with maybe only a few weeks left, and but that's just me speculating. None of this is set in stone. These are my concerns.
Yeah. Are we still under a state of emergency?
So that expires November 30th.
So we probably need to keep that going?
I don't know that we do. I think that if we were to, it would be fairly easy to have another state of emergency, but unless. Based on if we need to, if we need to enter private property, or if we need to, if we need to enter another mission, or if we need to make any special purchases, but I don't really foresee that at this point. But we have another meeting next week. If something changes, if I get different direction from our emergency management director, we can certainly do that at the next meeting. Or if we have to have an emergency meeting, we can do that as well.
If we let it expire, if we let the state of emergency expire based on this disaster, and we let just one day go by, are we able to reinstate that state of emergency under?
I believe it. I don't know why we couldn't.
Just about have to.
Reinstate the state of emergency under the same disaster after we let it expire?
Well, the disaster hadn't expired.
Well, it had one, but the state of emergency is driven toward the disaster.
It's a disaster that we're gonna have for the next 20 years. With all that's happened to us. That's a really good question, but I think it's something that, that we would, what would hurt just going ahead and re-up it then?
If you want to declare
Like Ms.
emergency.
Siegel asked, why not just do it and then don't worry about it?
No, that's right.
I don't have no problem with it at all. I think we should before we let it expire.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's, why don't we just do that? We got the forms for sure.
Can we do it tonight?
You just have to declare an emergency.
Right.
Maybe that's what we need to do, because people I'm talking to is they're still saying that their stuff is not being picked up. And when you over have a conversation with them, they said, well, the other stuff you picked up side of kind of maintained road come up private property. What's the difference they come up private property by a maintained road?
100%, I believe, of the debris is generated on private property.
Sure.
Absolutely. And I reminded, our legislators and FDOT that private roadways were included in the original scope of work upon the department's direction. So, and Conrad and I reviewed those documents. That was the first thing I saw. And the contractor did not anticipate that there would be an issue with removing debris on non-county maintained roads. I don't disagree. I think every citizen in this county should have the same benefit.
Cautionary measure, we probably should extend it before it expires. So are we okay to do that tonight? Or do we need emergency?
We have done other things tonight that wasn't on the agenda.
It's
That
not
wasn't
on your agenda, you have to declare an emergency, to declare an emergency.
I'm sorry?
It's not on the agenda, so you have to declare an emergency to declare an emergency.
You declare an emergency, I declare an emergency, to declare an emergency.
To extend the state of emergency.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll use the
That's a
standard
motion.
resolution.
That's the motion.
That's it.
Look at that, declare.
How many days? 30 more days?
Well, I would actually, that's what I do want to talk about that. I mean, I'd say 30 more days, but we're going, if we say to the end of December, then we've got holidays coming up. I would almost, we're gonna have a meeting or so the first of January, so I would really go to either January 15th or January 30th. That gives us an opportunity to, if we need to extend it even further.
So it'd be 45 days.
Yeah.
From November 30th to January 15th or whatever.
So what you need to do is, there was a motion to declare an emergency, you need to vote on that. Get a second.
We have a motion to declare an emergency by Commissioner Dent, and we have a second by Commissioner Moody. All in favor? Aye. Now we need a motion to extend the local state of emergency to January 15th. So, do you have a motion to extend the local state of emergency to January 15th? We have a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you.
That's all I have.
All right, we'll go 29. Comments and concerns from the public for non-agenda items. Come on, Jim.
Thank you, Commissioner. Jim Zerber from Steinhatchee. I did get a phone call today from the guy that actually physically did the labor in the river. The guy that had the barges and the debris trucks, and he advised me that there is some funding available. Because we're not the only, there's other places, other counties that are going through the same thing. He was shocked when they pulled it because listen, he's an honorable guy, as honorable as any of you, all of you, myself, I'd like to include in that. But, he didn't feel the job was done. And there's stuff coming out that river. I've got a big boat there on the river. I see it going by. There's logs, there's boards, there's parts of docks, there's big semi-truck tires floating. So, what Commissioner Newman said, what he's hearing is what I'm seeing. But, nothing at the volume that it was when they started that job. I mean, they pulled out hundreds of barge loads, filled this room a couple hundred times probably with debris. The other thing is, my wife Patty and I, it's been 3 months, but we go up and stay at that Magnuson Hotel or that Best Western up there on 98, right? We ride all those trails. But after you get past St. Mark's, there is no trail. So to ride, if this trail gets done in Taylor County, we're gonna have some infrastructure there as far as commercial infrastructure. We're gonna have some restaurants or something. Somebody's gonna have to put a motel, mom and pop or something, because the distance between St. Mark's to get to Perry is a long ways. Just something to think about. I mean, I don't want to turn, like somebody said once, you don't want to turn money down, right? When you get it from the state. Sorry about that. But the bottom line is that it would be much more well served, obviously, to connect Dark Island to Steinhatchee, because that's doable. I ride, you've seen me out there on the highway riding that bike, on the highway, just by getting killed, everyone said, man, you're gonna get run over. So it would make sense to connect that, and then eventually. Yeah, the debris is really an issue, still in Steinhatchee, and what's happened is there's, people, the 30th, I'm not sure what's gonna happen on the 30th, because people are still tearing stuff down and gonna pile it up long after that last debris truck might come, as far as the land pickup. But I wanna also thank you all for, going ahead with the consent for, First Avenue. I've been there a long time, and, that road has looked like a war zone. And I know it's a state project, it's a very overwhelming project for the county to try to do, but, we need that, the people come to town, you know about when people say, man, what the hell's going on with that road you got, right? The boat traffic, I'm surprised we don't have more accidents, but it does slow people down, because it's potholes. Thank you very much.
It is a county project. It's not a state project, it's a county project.
Well, with some state funding.
Sure.
Right, that's right.
And we don't want to turn state funding down.
No, you don't.
Or federal funding.
That's where we're gonna miss this guy.
Oh, yes. Anyone else from the public? Come on.
This debris is pickup is the strangest thing. I go to Mayo pretty regular. What I've seen, it's in Bay County, before you get to the prison, on the left-hand side, it looks like it's a driveway going up there. Those trucks and DOT trucks spend days in there picking that stuff up. Maybe somebody could say, well, we put it there. Well, if you go to the other side of the road, before you get to the little store up there at Buckville, on the right-hand side of the road, there's a fence running this way. Those trucks have been on the other side of that fence. The man that's doing the watching, he's got his car parked there. As that truck goes along that fence line on that main field, picking up debris. And we can't get it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, how can they do it there and how can?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is the man fenced on state property,
No,
county property?
no, it's his pasture. They were taking it off his fence line and had one of those big black trucks going down and picking it up.
They might be dead.
Looking at Madison today, it don't look like they've been on that road on 14 going in.
That farmer got a lot of money, they might.
Not going there.
Anyway. All right. More informational items, Commissioner Peters.
Yes, I had some questions this week about what time the roll-offs close. And so I went on our website and the schedule says they close at 7. However, at the bottom, it says that during the fall, it changes to 6. So, and I went back and looked at my calendar. Well, when did fall? When was that? And that was on September the 23rd. So I just want to explore the possibility that if we change the roll-off times with the seasons, would it be easier just to follow the daylight savings time and then they would be changed twice a year? So daylight savings time was November the 4th. The next one will be March the 10th. And if we could just do that, it would seem like it would be a lot easier than, well, is it going to change in the winter and then spring and then the summer and then the fall?
I think we do, but then we have scallop season as well, where the times change but the closing times, I think, are.
We already followed the daylight savings time because I think the time roll, the roll sites roll back through 6 p.m., the daylight savings time changes on that Sunday morning at what, 2 p.m. So I think that day we end up staying open till 7, but that Monday is when they get dropped back to 6 to go with.
Let me check the wording on the schedule.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how we can make it easier to follow.
I think that's what we've always done. I think whenever, even when it goes to, it's getting dark later, in the spring or something, March, something like that, I think that's when we go back to staying open till 7.
No, I'm not following you because it said that it changes at fall, and fall started on September the 23rd.
I think it's the way it's worded on the website that we need to look. That's probably.
Yeah, because then, you know, the time change was on November the 4th. That's 2 months later.
That's when they changed the hours, is in November.
But it doesn't say that on the website.
Well, I think the people's probably reading it, they go with the first day of fall, and they're probably calling us.
So if you're looking on the website, you're confused, and then they're calling me, so however it's gonna be, LaWanda, then let's at least make sure that day, that the website reflects what time it is, and let's don't put down at the bottom it changes, let's just change the time. So that way, if anybody looks it up, they say, oh, okay, it's 6 o'clock, or it's 7 o'clock, or whatever time it is.
The way they're doing it, it gets the attendance out of there before dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the general
Yeah.
meaning of the whole thing is get them out of there just before dark. And that's what the way it's been going, it worked out quite good.
Yeah, well, I just thought if we use the daylight savings time, then that kind of coincides with, you know, daylight and dark. And in Shady Grove, I have at the roll-off, the light is out. So that needs to be replaced. However, we can make it easier.
We just we'll look at the website and make sure it's communicated clearly.
Mr. Pitts?
When are we gonna, hit with the, Forest Capitol Hall Drive going into Forest Capitol Hall?
So the design is budgeted again for this year. So, I mean, as soon as we can.
Well, they asked me who owned the road, so I told them I didn't know who owned the road, but I thought the county owned the road. If you own the building, you own the road, so.
The parking lot.
You're working on it?
No, you're talking about the parking lot.
I was talking about driving in there, just with bad road going in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We gonna do something about it?
We can try.
Okay. Good enough.
Mr. Newman? No, sir. Mr. Booth?
I'm fine.
All right. So I have a motion to adjourn.
I move.
And a second? All in favor?
Yeah, what it is. Left button,
So that's the full.
Oh. Who's back? Good night.
This is not a lot of population, but
I'm tired.
Literally,
The whole map is the whole county.
Yeah, I mean,
I made one for each of the 5 districts, details.
Including the increments.
I didn't know, you sometimes it's two, you know, his big brothers, you know? No, you'd have the same issue here, like, 3 weeks ago.
Probably.
Just get somebody buried, it happens, some of the folks, you know, the family, when they're getting involved.
Yeah, when did it?
I'm lucky.
Once or
She's got, no, she's got.
He said it was 6 months.
But he said it was, hey, Captain.
275 days to election.
Good.
Nobody's got to watch
Maybe
election.
extended non-majority vote,
About to breathe, basically.
right?
I guess if you'll use the current district line.
31 days ago.
March.
Later.
That's the reason I want her to ask these people that question, so you don't.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
We'll see, it's
They already contacted her on
Us, you know,
Most folks in November will have that on the next.
I know it's from
She's implemented, so she's not in the budget. She's got all the powers.
Oh, okay, well, I'll get it.
Well, to me, it's proper rate of sets the rates, tax.
Well, I mean, so
She doesn't set the district.
They just have to implement it, and that's what my concern for her, we got to get her jobs there and all of this. Yeah, always, and even, I mean, I'm one of those people, I have to implement what other people do on my job, and I would love it. Coming at me, and I understand why it's like that, and I think that's.
I think they were all going at Hardball and.
Sure has.
You don't see.
Here's the.
You know what I
And I didn't get a return call.
Yeah, well.
I had been there.
Of course.
I did the work on